My name is Jared, and this is going to be our first episode of the Mind Money podcast. And our first guest is going to be Sai over here. Sai, can you please introduce yourself for the people?
Hi, my name is Sai Vajaha, and I'm a junior this year at Spain Park High School, and I'm located in Birmingham, Alabama.
Very impressive, very impressive. Amazing. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah,
My first topic that I'd like to bring up, because I know a lot of students, before they even start thinking about things like startups, like what you've done with Marginet or
mhm.
extracurricular clubs, what do you do to keep your school life intact while you're doing everything?
Yeah, for sure. Balancing. I'm in seven APs this year, so I've been, heavy course load, or heavy like coursework. But last year I took around two APs, and freshman year I took none. I was in all honors classes though. But just managing schoolwork and extracurriculars and having playing sports. So this year, I had to I had to talk to myself, and I had to quit track this year because all of my work as I recently started a petition to bring phones back to Bama, which is bringing phones back into schools, and with my startup Margin, I'm in various other clubs like DECA and just other things that take up a ton of time. And track is just something that I pursued over through middle school and high school, but it's just something that I had to take like a decision with myself that I had to take to keep my time management skills intact, and making sure that I can manage everything. But first, what I say is always do your homework first and then worry about other things, because obviously school kind of does come first in between coming with your startup. Even if you're making like, let's say, $1 million a month, still school has to come up first to
Yeah.
show that you could keep up with whatever you're trying to do and keep up and say that you can finish your work. But always try to finish school first and try to focus on other things. But I'm not saying don't focus on other things, just put some things and make a list of what comes first.
Yeah, school is obviously when colleges are looking at you, they're gonna check
Exactly.
off, oh, that 4.0 GPA, and they're gonna want to check off that SAT score. Those basic academics just show that you're qualified for the school. But then what you do is you take it to the next extent, the better level. I mean, you're going and doing extraordinary things for your age. I mean, I'm also doing a very heavy course load this year. I'm basically taking four APs at my school and self studying two at another school because
Yeah,
we don't offer that much. I'm in Sayreville, New Jersey,
exactly.
so yeah. So I'm doing what I can. Taking the SAT, it's all about grinding. And what I think is most important is what you said: getting your homework, getting your academic stuff figured out first. Even if you made mistakes in the past with your academics, you can always come back from it. I mean, I've seen people
Exactly.
who get into Ivy League schools with 3.7 weighted GPAs or whatever like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, but they want to look for it just to check it off. And then the extracurriculars, how do you how do you come up with ideas for these type of extracurriculars? I mean, it's amazing what you're
So
doing.
yeah, for sure. Margin, it was just some random. It sounded like every other startup where it came to me at like 1 a.m. and I called up my best friend. I was like, just pitched him the idea, and he's like, you know what, you should start it. But something about Marginet is that I think we're coming to an end with Marginet. I keep pursuing it, and the app and everything, but I feel like I want to work to better things. And I was just looking at Y Combinator and the applications, and when they get an application, they're looking if a business can make $1 billion, right? And obviously, $1 billion is a very large sum of money, but I just see that Marginet isn't something that can make that $1 billion, or isn't that $1 billion idea. So I'm kind of back in the books and kind of talking to a few people about what Marginet's future is going to look like, what's next for me, and if I should work on something else. But Marginet is still in the works, and it's still something that I want to pursue. And even if I'm not going to pursue it in like the next few weeks or next few months, it's something that I gained a lot of experience from, is being 15, 16, talking to a ton of like hundreds of people about startup pitching my idea, talking about cap tables, about how here like equity, how really equity works, and what people do in each position, how forming a team. I was basically leading a team of 12 to 16 people, and each team had different sectors, and then in those sectors had different leads and interns. But managing extracurriculars and coming up with ideas is something that you have to kind of do yourself, and you can't really copy because you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. But Margin was just an idea that hit me, and I maybe should have done some research before I started Margin on how working a startup works, how to find the right people, kind of having to say no as well. I feel like I'm someone that has trouble saying no here and there,
Yeah.
but yeah, but coming up with ideas, you have to be somewhat creative. But I don't think I'm the most creative, but I come up with ideas that I say are pretty good here and there. Sometimes not, but
I feel like when I'm
that's
going
just
for a
how
walk, I just
it is.
feel the idea, it just comes into my head.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's where most of the ideas come from. And you know what they say about these startups? You don't know what you're actually gonna do until you start doing it. The more you
Exactly.
do and do, you get ideas of what you're going to continue to do and how to grow it and how to innovate, maybe pivot a little bit. You know, that's what it is with these startups. I mean, and
Hmm.
especially the way how you networked with multiple people and the leadership skills you gained are very important. I mean, I think that essentially networking is the most powerful thing for every one of us. I mean,
Exactly.
I personally, when I go to these conventions in New York City, or when I do my internships, or I'm even talking to people at school at a job fair. I mean, it's important because I get to gain experience from them, and they get to gain some from me. It's not like I'm only just taking away from them. You should also help them as well, even if they're the chairman of Goldman Sachs or they're this and that, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Networking with someone is the most powerful thing because you soak up knowledge, you learn from that person, maybe even gain a valuable connection that'll help you in the real world. I mean, there's nothing like what you need in this world. Like you need communication, and communication is the most
Exactly.
important thing. You see, when I was a freshman, I didn't have that good of communication skills. Now I'm a junior. I feel my communication developed a lot. I communicate with mostly everyone. Communicate with all my teachers. I communicate with people outside of school. I communicate with people over at the New York Stock Exchange.
Hmm.
It's about communicating. And you know what? When you communicate sometimes and ask for something, you might get rejected a few times. Or you might get accepted, but rejection is just one step closer to getting to that goal.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think about rejection? How many times have you said like get rejected or fail at something?
Probably hundreds of times, depending on, if it's just through daily life or, trying to do something. But overcoming rejections is something that's gonna push you a lot forward into your future. And getting rejected can obviously lead to something even better. So, one example I can talk about through Marginet is I applied for a power trading internship, which is something that you trade commodities in kind of the stock exchange, and it's kind of like day trading, but
Yeah.
with commodities. So it's kind of like electricity. But I went and interviewed. I thought I killed the interview and killed it, and I didn't even get a response back. But a month later, I emailed them. I'm like, "What happened? What's going on?" They were like, they chose a applicant that was a year ahead of me, so the class of 2026. But they said if you come back next year, you're a top applicant. And I saw that and I was like, okay. And I didn't really have anything planned for this summer, so that rejection led me to starting Margin and starting the petition, which I feel like are two great things that came out of one negative thing. But rejection is always something that's going to happen day to day. You're going to get rejected in everything that you kind of do. There's always going to be problems, and you just have to overcome them and find a new solution or find another way. I'm the type of person that, if I get rejected in something, I'm going to find another way or another solution. I'm not going to back down from the problem or the challenge. And if it's a rejection, I say it's going to lead you to a new path.
Yeah, I mean, like you always have to pivot. When I get rejected with something, when school or with extracurriculars outside, I applied actually before this to I think it was a summer program over at somewhere else, not a summer program, summer internship. Oh, before the summer for Fidelity or something like that, a high school. I got rejected, but you know what it led me to? I was like, why don't I just do something and be creative about it? Why don't I just pursue something that maybe will have some substance? And I ended up starting up new things. You know, this podcast, this idea just came up to me one day. It just came up. I was like, I
Exactly.
like talking to people. I like doing this type of stuff.
Yeah.
Why don't I just talk to young people who have the same visions that I do? You know what I mean? So it's like I'm trying to figure out my AI startup. I'm in developing it with another person, and we're working on that right now. And I think it's all about the learning experience, and we're trying to figure it out. You know, I feel like the development part is the worst part, honestly,
Yeah, it
with
is. Yeah.
everything. I mean, but
Hmm.
I think essentially learning is the most powerful thing you can get from these things, and it's important. So, personal wise, how did you get into this mindset? Like, what basically shaped you into being like this way, like so motivated, so an outstanding guy? You know, going for all this stuff.
So I say it's around the people you surround yourself with. So obviously, you know, um, to the quotes, the quote that if you surround yourself with four millionaires, you're gonna be the fifth. And I always try to surround myself with people that are great and have great ambitions in life. And I've been doing that ever since I was a kid. So like since fourth grade, me and my best friend, we've always been competing in some type of math competitions. Going from elementary school to even high school now, we try to always be first, second place, second or first. In any math competition that we know we're both on math team and we both do. But I in DECA or the Marginet or any like even posting on LinkedIn, I always find someone to compare myself to, and I try to be better than them, but I try to also not be egotistical, but also just kind of make myself as a rival basically. I always try to compete with other people, but in some aspects of life, I try to compete with myself as well. But finding someone to challenge, and it's not even indirectly or directly. Indirectly, you want to have that in your mind that we want to be better than someone. And I really am. I'm a competitive person in anything I do. Other day I was. Do you do DECA?
Yes, I do DECA. I
Yeah,
compete.
so
Yeah.
I'm in DECA, and I'm running for state officer. I ran last year, I didn't win, but I'm gonna run again this year, and I'm gonna try and put myself in the best position to win. But, we had a DECA conference last week, and even it was a simple game of rock paper scissors to see who can collect the most necklaces. So you play someone, and if you beat them, you take their necklace. I had 40, 50 around my neck because I'm trying to beat every single person in the room and try to go get the prize. Even if the prize is just a pencil, I'm going to go up there and try to win because that shows that I'm someone who's so competitive that I'm going to beat people in rock, paper, scissors to go up there. Same thing with a week before that, I had a conference around everyone that does a CTE, some type of course. So let's say engineering, HOSA, TSA, anything like that. And DECA. So we all met in a big room and conference, and it was a goose chase, which is kind of like a scavenger hunt. So I went around getting pictures, doing everything, talking to interacting with people I've never met, and I got a $50 gift card. And the thing is, it's not winning the prize, but it's winning what people see. People see that you are winning. So so that's something that drives me. I always want people to see that I'm winning, and that just gives me the drive to get up and making people proud. But comparing myself with my friend Dallas, he got first place at internationals at DECA this year, and I obviously did not place at all at
I
DECA.
saw that.
But
Yeah, I saw your
yeah,
TikTok on that. Yeah,
yeah.
and I
So
can relate to that too. Yeah.
exactly. So he pushes me. We have some classes together. We're in the same business class. He sits right next to me. So sitting someone next to like that, that can help me grow. And using other people is also something that can help you grow. And learning mistakes. And I say, people who make mistakes and give you advice, they're not smarter than you. They just made more mistakes than you, so they can tell you.
Yes, they've
Um,
been through more, so that's why.
exactly. They've been through more, and it's always better to ask someone what to do rather than trying to figure it out on yourself. And obviously that in some aspects are different, but I just say, being competitive is just something who I am. It could be literally anything. I'm gonna try to win. If I get demotivated from that thing, I'm gonna find somewhere else to win. So that's just something. I'm a competitive person ever since childhood and anything. I always try to be the person that tries to win something.
Yes, and I remember just to relate to this. When I was at DECA this year with the whole thing in New Jersey, we actually had unfair judging, which was a big scandal that went out. And my chapter, Sayreville, actually got the worst of it. So it was like the most
Hmm.
unlucky thing that happened because basically in New Jersey, they were recruiting parents from the school districts to go do it. So
Hmm.
to go judge. So basically, there were tons of people from Cherry Hill, tons of people from these towns, and the parents were basically putting all the people from those schools winning, winning, winning here and here, here. It's so obvious. And then they spotted that later, but what are they supposed to do? Take away national spots from these people? I ended up, I was so sad the day that we didn't place because we got a 57 out of 60 on the manual. And then our presentation score, I believe, was like a 30 to 35. And we
Hmm.
were, it was like, it was terrible. I think we
Yeah.
had one of the highest scores for manual in our chapter. And I was just like, I was blown away at how we didn't place. I mean, it was so like the failure that I saw from that and that I took away was like I think it was the worst failure I think I've ever had because I did put in
Yeah.
so much work and it just shaped character. Because now I
Yeah.
know the next time I go back, I'm not letting that happen to myself again.
Exactly.
I don't care what circumstance it is, what it's that. I'm not even gonna say that it's. I'm not saying that the judging because I should have won. It's not. It's not the
Hmm.
judging. I'm actually no. It's my fault, not the judge's fault.
Yeah.
If I would had better presentation, if I did this, if I did that, if what, but it doesn't matter. I should have done better. And
Exactly.
we got to learn from those failures. We have to just come back better. And you can be sad for a while, but you got to come back with a good
Hmm.
feeling. You got to embrace it. You really just got to kick ass next time.
Yeah, and I say luck isn't something that's going to come to you, but you need to put yourself in a position where luck can, fall in your hands and it comes out. But let's say it's the same thing as not studying for a test and hoping that you're lucky and getting a good score. But let's say you study for the test and you hope that luck comes to you on the test of what you studied for is on the test, if that kind of makes some
Yeah.
sense. But I can have the same example. My freshman year of DECA, I obviously did not do well. I think my first role play, I was sitting outside my hotel room, and I think it was like 2 minutes and 30 seconds long, and my test score was like a 56. But somehow, since Alabama is not, that well versed in DECA, I somehow got fifth, which obviously isn't, the best, but I think you need a top four to go to international. So I got bumped up because one person didn't want to go. So I had the chance of going, and I met amazing people, crazy people everywhere I'd go. And let's say Disneyland, people were wearing sweatshirts with some crazy schools on it. I saw, like, I remember seeing like Duke, Michigan, Harvard, Ivy Leagues, top 20s. So that inspired me. And next
So
year, this year,
inspiring.
yeah, I got one of the highest exam scores in the state, one of the highest role play scores in the state this year. So I obviously pushed myself. I studied a ton, and I really wanted to get up on stage and win. And when I did, that like rush of just dopamine and just winning was one of the best feelings that you're gonna get. And going back to why I want to win so much, it's just that feeling of winning, and just that feeling is just something that drives me every day. I
Yes.
imagine myself every day of winning some type of award. Like I imagine myself when I don't want to study, winning ICDC first place, or doing the petition. And going back to the petition, I always say begin with the end in your mind. And my first with the petition was trying to get on the news. And as of now, I've been on the news two times for the petition. It's just something that, I remember the first thing I'm like, I want to get on the news for the petition and people are going to see me on the news. So, and I made that
Yeah.
happen.
That's amazing that you were on the news. How was that?
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it was an
Was it like
experience. I got
everybody
to tour
saw you on the news? Was it like when you went into school, like the next day, everyone was like,
Yeah,
"Hi."
it was pretty cool because I did post about it. A lot of my friends had, people don't really watch the news, people our age most likely,
Yeah, yeah,
but I got a ton of people sending me videos, pictures of them, watching it on their TVs, which was really cool, and
yeah. That's
that
so
they did
cool.
that because of me. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
was
mean
fun.
that sounds like amazing. I mean, I can imagine my friends probably making fun of it or something like that, but I think it's
Yeah,
really, I
yeah,
think
mine
it's
too. No,
yeah,
I definitely got made fun of for it.
yeah,
Trust me.
yeah, yeah. I
I'm
feel
I'm
like
like
when you
the
do this
yellow
outgoing type
voice.
of stuff, you're gonna get made fun of a little bit. I know I'm
You're
gonna get
gonna
made
get made
fun of
fun
for
of
this,
because
but
of it.
like
Exactly, it happens.
but it doesn't matter
Um,
what they think. It's about what I think. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah, and in the long run, when you get when you get those 5,000, 10,000 followers, and be like, I wish I started this. So it's gonna happen in any endeavor of your life. You're gonna get made fun of, even if that's in sports, business, school, anything that you do. But it's just as long as you put your mind to it, and it's something that you want to do, and you're not trying to impress other people or get other thoughts on other people. It's something that you're gonna succeed in because you can really do anything that you really put your mind to as long as you put in the work. And I say putting in the work is the main thing.
So you did
But
you
yeah.
did track for so many years, right? Now, how did you feel about sacrificing that? Like, because I know
I
now
know
you have
that
to
it was really
sacrifice.
sad, but my performance in track wasn't as great as it used to be in middle school because obviously I would say I was really good in middle school, but just kind of going through high school, I guess I just didn't really put in that work that I wanted to, and I didn't put in the work and I didn't really see the results. So quitting track is something that I was really wasn't really fond of, but I just had to do it at the end of the day to pursue some of my other goals. And I may come back to it. There's two seasons, indoor and outdoor, so I'm still thinking about coming back during outdoor, but that's just something I have to talk with myself and see, look at my schedule, talk to my parents, talk to my family, and see if that's something I want to do. Because obviously I'm not going professional in that sport, but it's something that I like to do, and it's something that you can keep your physical activity in. But I'm not. It's not something that's going to be detrimental in future aspects of my life. It's just something that maybe my future kid's going to be like, "Why'd you quit track?" or something like that. But yeah, but it was a big decision that I made with myself, and I'm not sad. I'm not happy with it. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
it's something that happens. Too many time commitments, and you have to get rid of some things, but some other big things that came with it. So it's not. It balanced out. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, I mean the contribution that you helped out with the track team, you played the sport for so long. I mean that's pretty good anyway. You know what I mean? You played the sport, and now you're
Yeah,
seeing that you can't do it.
with some
So
great people.
yeah,
Yeah, it was fun.
that's
It
what
was
I
a
love
blast.
about playing sports. Now I play golf, and then I also do fighting. So the two very different sports.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so I do submission grappling, and then I do golf. So when I play golf, you meet a lot of ambitious people, and then you meet like these older guys who give like great advice,
yeah.
and it's a
Great
good
advice. Yeah,
networking sport. It's good to know. And then in the other sport, I feel like it's more about life lessons, discipline, always getting stuff done. And submission grappling because it's a lot of discipline. You have to show up to training. You have to do this. You have to do
exactly.
that,
Yeah,
and you have to stay disciplined. And I feel like that's what happens in life. That's my trajectory of life. I have to stay disciplined. I often make mistakes. I make mistakes with, oh, maybe I overload my plate a little bit. Maybe I do this. Maybe I do that. But at the end of the day, I'll always figure out how to not do that. Always figure out how
yeah.
to stop it. You know what I mean? just
So
subsidize and adapt what's happening.
going back to fighting, I did taekwondo. I think I stopped last year around summertime after we did in nationals. I think so. Yeah, but it's obviously that's something I've learned, and I'm probably gonna go back to probably after high school. It's just really busy. Like it's like 3 1.5 hour classes per week. That's way too much for me to handle. But back in middle school and early high school, that was really fun to do. I met tons of great people, tons of great coaches, and um, probably after high school, I'm gonna get back into it. But I'm staying physical still, so it's really fun to do.
So
But I feel
now,
like fighting is a sport everyone should do
oh yeah,
or
it's
learn at least.
amazing. And
Yeah.
then, so now you now let's talk about the future. So, what do you plan on doing? What college do you want to go to? What do you want to major in? Just stuff like
Yeah,
that.
so I plan to major in some type of business administration or hopefully finance. But if finance doesn't really go my way, I want to do something in the math, or maybe I don't really see myself doing engineering, but my kind of future I sprouted as quant finance, but I don't really want to see myself putting in a ton of work in computer science, or doing things with computers or really AI, really anything technical. So I sprouted from computer science, which is in quant finance, I would say. Rather than quant finance, I was looking in the finance side. So I took a look at managing, like looking at hedge funds, private equity, and investment banking, and those type of careers. With the finance just caught my eye. And freshman year, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Obviously, in my type of culture, my parents really want to force me into the medical or like engineering, some type of business like that, because that's what they're used to seeing, back in in our culture. But I always wanted to look like a doctor, or be in that medicine field. I saw the big bucks, but I saw the time of schooling that it would take. I don't want to wait till 40 to make the big
Yes. Yeah.
bucks. And
Yeah.
business, you can scale it as much as you want it to
Oh
in
yeah.
business, doing something like that. So I kind of veered away from the medical side, looked into business, entrepreneurship, stuff, that type of stuff. But then freshman year, I remember looking at the DECA. There's a DECA sheet, and it's with all the events, and it's like what you need to do in the event, right? So I chose entrepreneurship series, and my teacher was like, "There's people that do that as their like high school career, like they do that 4 years of entrepreneurship class." I'm like, okay. So there was a spreadsheet of who did what event, and I saw business finance series, and I said finance, math. Okay, I'm okay with math. Business finance series, and now that I know that BFS, that event that I did freshman year, is the hardest DECA event to do, overall out of most events, which I say is because you need to have a good math knowledge, you need to have good finance and business, and it just kind of puts that together. It's one of the hardest events to do. I'm happy that I did it because I learned so much, and that kind of veered me into my finance career, doing one single DECA event, learning so much, meeting a ton of great people. And even last year I did a finance event, and even this year I'm doing another finance event. That's just something I like to do rather than medical, sitting around doing handling major deals, major business transactions. Working in the big cities and living a like a high life is something that I'm interested in. And I want to say, rather than doing staying in banking or finance my whole life, I'm going to say the 9 to 5 fuels the 5 to 9, and the 5 to 9 fuels the rest of your life, if that makes sense. So
Yes.
I'm going to use banking and leverage that to make money, to put in elsewhere, to grow my assets and make money to where I can live comfortably without working 100-hour weeks. Because working in banking and finance is a
It's too
lot of work.
much.
It's like
Yes.
100-hour works.
It drains.
And I think right now I wake up. My school, I take an extra class, so I go to school from 7:35 to 3:45. People ask me, they're like, because I can go in the morning, leave a little early, take a period off. They're like, why do you do this? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm putting myself through the work, and through banking, I'm like, when I say, I'm in the high school, when I get to college, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be better at college. I'm gonna have more fun. Less classes, blah blah blah, going to parties, whatever, right? And when I think of investment banking, I'm gonna be up, waking up at like 4, staying there until like 12. So I don't know if it'll ever get better. My sleep schedule will ever get better, but I know that it's something that I embrace the grind. Even I'm a person to do things like super last minute, but what I say is that diamonds are made under pressure. So I think I work pretty well under pressure. I get things done, but it's gonna get better. I think it's gonna be a fun journey. But yeah, I see myself in some type of banking or finance field. Maybe accounting if everything doesn't really work out well. But some type of finance is where I see myself in the big cities. But yeah,
And what are the target colleges that you think? If you don't mind me asking.
yeah, totally for sure. I wouldn't probably tell you if you went to my school, but I really want to go to the University of Michigan. You know, um,
Mitt
it's
Ross, right? Yeah.
Ross. Yeah,
Really good school. Really good school.
background of the phone. So. That's where I really want to go. And I haven't had the chance to visit yet, but I know some relatives who went there and they studied there. And it's a really great school. I love the vibe. My friend Parker, I didn't really know Michigan until a few years back, but he went there. That just kind of brought my light onto Michigan, what it was. I'm like, Michigan, I've never heard of that. But then Michigan Ross, I'm hearing people talk about it. It's a great business school, great location, close to some big cities. Great, college life, and I really want to go there. Some other schools, as big finance, high finance has most target schools. So going to some other schools, I'd really love. Obviously, Penn is the dream, Michigan is the dream, but
Yeah.
sometimes you have to be a little bit more realistic. But IU Kelly is also a college I could see myself at. UIUC is somewhere I can also see myself at. Some other mostly any top 20 I get into, I will have to look at as the financial packages and see how it works. But
Yeah, a lot of these
Michigan,
colleges cost
yeah,
an arm,
they're
a kidney, a liver, and
they are
your
pretty
brain, man. I mean,
exactly. But um, yeah, I'll just have to see where I end up. I really don't know. We're still juniors, but we still have a little bit of time,
we
not
have a
too
little bit
much.
of time. We got to crunch everything
A
in
little
now.
bit,
Yeah.
just a little bit until summer. When summer hits, that's when it's crunch time. But I plan to see myself in the next few months do a ton of great things. But planning for ICDC, we have the PSAT coming up. Hopefully, fingers crossed, national merit.
National merit,
Um,
yeah. That's what we're all trying to
yeah,
do. I'm
and
so surprised because people at my school, some of them, like the competitive ones, they don't even know what national merit is. They're just like, oh, I'm just
yeah,
trying to
some
take
of
it.
them don't. Like, I feel like it's just when you're so well versed in the college nature, when you talk to,
Yes.
say, quote unquote normies, it's
No,
just they're like they don't know so much. I'm
yeah.
just like I'm doing so much, and when people ask me why are you doing, I don't have an answer for them. I'm just like trying to go to a good school, and some people are doing too much, some people aren't doing enough, but um, you know, you want to put yourself into a side where you're thriving.
Some
So
people just like don't, they just put everything into school and then
yeah.
they don't do anything else.
Exactly, 'cause I know my friend, I don't wanna name drop or anything if he sees this, but, he's taking 9 APs this year, but he has, like, 2 normal extracurriculars, and, he wants to go to the really high schools, and, when I tell people that, um and these guys, like, I hear people over talking, they have, like, these 4.3, 4.2 GPAs, which is obviously really good. They're like, "Oh, you're like the other guy with, like, maybe, let's say, a 3.8, right? Like, unweighted," or, he's like, "Oh, you're going to Harvard, you're going to," because they have the high GPAs, but they don't know the full admissions process of
They really don't know. Yeah, because
they don't know how to get in
somebody
these
who
top
could have a lower
schools.
GPA but has some really cracked out extracurriculars
Exactly.
and perhaps a good SAT score, that's basically better than, oh, I have a
Yeah.
4.6 GPA, but I don't do anything else besides play soccer and go to my DECA meetings. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and
yeah.
even me, I may look like someone who has a 4.0, but I really don't have a 4.0. I don't have a perfect GPA here and there,
And that's
I
okay.
mean
That's okay because you're doing
exactly,
so much.
yeah,
I see it.
exactly,
The thing is, Ivy Leagues, they don't look for the perfect student. They look for the student who grows the most. You know what I mean?
exactly.
So I can
And,
see
when I
you're
tell my
growing every
parents, like,
single
they're
year.
like yeah, when I tell my parents, I'm still studying for the SAT every day, but they don't see what's going on behind. They only see what the
Yes,
results
yes,
that they
yeah.
see, right? So, when I explain it, when they're talking to me, when they're lecturing me about blah blah blah, you're hanging out with your friends, you're not doing ACT, they just don't know what's going on behind because they see the results, right? Because I'm still a junior, but I haven't taken the SAT or ACT professionally yet, or like actually, I've taken practice ones. I'm practicing every day, but I'm just waiting until I see my PSAT, see how that goes, and start taking some real tests. But they think I'm not doing it because I'm not prepared. They don't know that I'm just waiting for the PSAT to kind of boost or like launch my kind of SAT
Trajectory.
career.
Yeah, yeah, your
Exactly.
SAT career, yeah.
So, but yeah, I had something come to my mind, but I totally forgot what I was going to
No,
say.
no, it's fine.
But yeah,
That's amazing. I mean, yeah, I completely agree with everything you say. I feel like I know your whole career track. It's like I feel all of us people who want to be finance bros. Well, I mean, not want to be. We're gonna be,
yeah, yeah, we're
but
gonna be.
I mean, we all want to do the same thing. We all want to go into quant or investment banking and then break
Yeah,
out by the time we're 25. It's like that's all I hear.
yeah,
I'm like either people are going into private equity or they're starting their own thing. But I think it's amazing to do that because 3 years of investment banking, good money, blah blah blah. Get out, do this,
oh my
pursue your
gosh,
passion, pursue your dream, and I think that's what life is about. You only live life once, so why not do everything you can
exactly.
to get that done? And
Yeah,
these schools, what we're doing now, what you're doing now basically determines what you're gonna do for the rest of your life. So might as well
hmm
give it everything you got.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
But
that's what I
for
tell
going back
people.
to
I tell
colleges,
people that.
yeah, going back to colleges. Probably Michigan is top up there. IU Kelly. I'd love to go to Vanderbilt too. Vanderbilt's really nice. I like
Vanderbilt's
the school.
amazing. Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
expensive
yeah.
though. I saw the thing. It was like,
Very expensive. And Duke. Duke's crazy expensive. Um, uh, I think people say they can see me at Georgia Tech, but I don't really know about seeing
no, I
myself
can see
there.
you at
But
Georgia Tech. Yeah,
yeah, I don't know why people say that, but um, maybe it's just because of all the dark blue I wear. Or I don't know,
maybe,
but
maybe.
yeah, but mostly top 20 schools. But it's really, I'm looking at, I always see these non-target schools on finance, and like Baruch or some schools like that, mid to
Yeah, they're very
semi-target, and
good.
they're in New York, and they're really good. So I may, I really don't know where I may end up. I could really be somewhere crazy, may not be the best place, and um, but as long as you put yourself in a good position, you can get anywhere you want to. And as we're going back to the beginning, it's all about networking. And
Yeah,
I think I'm a pretty good networker and I have great connections. Um, if I post on Instagram right now and I tell like 100 people to go like it, I would say 95% of them are going to go, interact with the post in some way, somewhat. So it's all around and going back to what I said earlier, it's all around the people that you surround yourself with and who you talk to and who you talk to on the daily about going to with your problems, how to fix the problems, and where you want to thrive, and telling people. And you don't want to surround yourself with people that are trying to take away from you, but they help build on you.
yes, you want to surround yourself with the people who are going to build you up, people who are better. Because when you're hanging out with those better people, like what you said before, you're going to grow as well, and
Mm,
that's very important. And I think what I tell everyone, and people think it's like I'm trying to be Sigma or something like that. I tell everyone,
yeah, yeah,
connections get you farther than any degree will, because you
exactly.
could have the degree, but what are you going to do when you get out there? You're just gonna
Hmm.
you're not even gonna be able to get an interview at that point because you don't have any connections. That's what I
Yeah,
tell
like
people.
even me, I'm telling people that are like, I was like a sophomore last year. My friend who is at Purdue right now, very great school, very great business school. He's like, he wants to go into finance, some type of, I don't know exactly what he wants to do, but he's in doing finance with a minor in CS, I think. But he's like, I was telling him that he needs to join the finance clubs as me as a sophomore. He's going into college because I've seen so many videos, I've researched so much, learning finance and everything. I'm like, you need to go interview for clubs your freshman year, try to get an internship sophomore. He's like, why are you telling me this? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just trying to help you out. So,
Yeah, no.
but yeah, it's just finance. So,
Finance is life, man. That's what I tell everyone. I'm
yeah,
like, because I do a lot of trading. I help out because people are always
yeah,
asking me, "Oh, can you help me out with stocks? Can you help me out with this?" So I
mm,
help them out, all this stuff, and I tell them, finance is life. Once you start doing it, you never stop.
exactly.
And
And
then, another thing that I see with all these people who are like, they want to do this, like, especially the people who want to get into finance who are just like high schoolers. Like, let's say just wanna, they say, "Oh yeah, now I want to do finance." They ask me a question, and then I tell them, "Oh yeah, call me. I'll help you." They don't
yeah,
call, and then they wonder why. I'm like, if you don't take action, then I'm not going to take action on my
yeah,
part either. So that's
exactly.
another thing. It's like
Some
you
people
have
do
to
it for
take
the
action.
finance, or not the finance. Some people do want to do it for the money, but I want to do it for the environment that you're in, the people that you're working with, and the connections you're gonna make. Because people see doctors, they're highly revered, all this, engineers, finance and bankers are like just there. But when you're doing the finance and banking, it's just a different type of vibe, and that's the vibe that I want to put myself in for the future, basically.
I feel
So
that though the bankers recently, a lot of people in finance have been getting more glorified than the other fields. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
recently I've just been recognizing a
yeah.
little bit of a shift.
Hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people now because they see
People like this
the
investment
salary.
banking and these type of fields are just
Yes,
getting more
investment
to
banking.
light.
That's all you see.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
quant people are like, I'm doing quant, and I'm like, no, you're not. Quant is like so insanely hard to do. Obviously, it's like 0.2% chance to get into. Plus, you need to be cracked at CS, which, learning CS, I wanted to do myself this summer, but I've I'm just the person that, I maybe should have taken a shot at CS earlier, not to get into that field, but just learning CS, learning that skill earlier. And it's just like starting a new sport. You're not, starting at 16 is something that, you're still young, you can still do in these 2 years. It's just something like, let's say I put that same time of effort into something else that I'm already doing, something I can just propel myself more rather than starting a new skill. But CS is definitely cool, and I highly commend the people that can do it, and it's great that I can find people to do it. And if I was technical, I wouldn't have to find someone else technical to build my ideas for me. But that's just something that's just a trouble that you have to go through when making stuff like a startup or
yeah.
working in finance. But
That
That's why you
amazing, man.
need
Really,
a team though.
really good.
Yeah.
I do appreciate you being the first guest on the podcast.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure. Yeah.
you're gonna do great things, man. I'm looking forward to seeing everything. I'm looking forward to seeing all the great
For
things you
sure. Yeah.
do.
We're gonna stay connected on LinkedIn, the
We're gonna stay
posts,
connected.
Instagram and everything. Yeah.
You need
Totally.
anything, just text me anything.
For
I'm
sure.
always
Yeah.
happy. I'm always
No,
happy
for
to
sure.
help.
Take action.
Anything.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
I'll see you, man. Yep, take action. Remember that.
Right.
Take action.
Yeah.
Bye bye. I'll see you, man.
Take action. Yeah. See ya.